Volume 6, Number 6, June 6, 2026. This podcast presents concise summaries of each of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me.
Town Attorney Kent Whitmer resigned May 24, leaving Palmer Lake with 44 open legal issues and raising questions about ongoing professional retention. At the May 14 meeting, the board discussed removing interim town administrator Glenn Smith, questioned merging the town administrator and chief of police roles, and debated proper due process requirements for any dismissal. There was disagreement over Smith's hiring of an outside attorney to oversee an investigation into trustee harassment allegations, with claims of improper spending and disputes over authority and contract requirements. The board unanimously named trustee Tony Beltran as mayor pro tem, approved a greywater ban with grandfathering, and authorized changes to outdoor water schedules for the water supervisor and town administrator without a full board vote. The town approved the 2026 hazard mitigation plan to keep eligibility for disaster grants, and settled a follow-up audit issue by approving payment to Hinkle and Company for additional post-audit work. In short, governance disputes and staffing uncertainty persist after the attorney's resignation, complicating the town's ability to address legal and administrative matters. The next regular meetings are June 11 and June 25, with information available on the town website. The board filed a CCIOA petition in El Paso District Court to amend the Gleneagle covenants and short-term leasing after 2025 voting failed to reach the 67% threshold, with 38% approval for the amended declarations and 36% for the short-term amendment, exceeding the 33.5% court approval threshold. The petition outlines 4 steps satisfied by the board to seek court approval, including notices to owners, a meeting, and sufficient votes, while noting the court can still rule on the covenants but not on the annual assessment amendment. About 270 of 704 lot owners approved the amended declarations and 251 approved the short-term amendment, while roughly 300 owners did not submit ballots. Some ballots were incomplete or abstentions occurred. The open forum clarified costs, approximately $20,000 for the voting process and petition, with about $7,000 for the 2025 vote and petition filing. Ongoing costs and potential future objections could influence the outcome. Community members questioned understanding of abstentions, voting rules, and differences between old and new language, while board members argued the amendments improve readability and stay within the law, with a judge to determine the outcome. In other business, the board discussed e-motorcycle incidents in Rayburg open space, requested volunteer coordinators for open space and a welcoming committee, and noted need for volunteers for open space restoration and stormwater basin maintenance. The next court hearing is scheduled for June 9. The Monument Fire Department named Colin Fitzgerald as its new chief, bringing more than 30 years of fire and emergency services experience, currently serving as Leawood, Kansas Fire Department chief since 2020. Fitzgerald previously worked at Lenexa, Kansas Fire Department from 2001 to 2012, advancing through roles before joining Leawood in 2012. He holds a master's in public administration, a bachelor's in technology administration, an associate degree in EMS and fire science, and completed the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Program. At the May 27 MFD board meeting, Treasurer Steve Phillips reported the district is on target for its effective cost management plan and the Emergency Reserve Fund remains fully funded to cover potential state funding disruptions. Auditors praised MFD accounting, with a 45-page draft audit calling the district strong, with a final report due at the June meeting. The district is advancing major capital projects, including remodeling Station 3 and planning Station 1 training facility upgrades, with final drawings and town acceptance planned. The next meeting is June 24 at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1. The May 16 town hall hosted by Black Forest Fire and Rescue District aimed to proactively reduce event severity through mitigation, with public access to Station 1 and information on multiple topics. The event featured new Fire Chief David Rocco, who stressed enhanced outreach and future programs led by him, Deputy Chief Tony Cerrone, and staff. Presentations covered fuel reduction, home ignition protection, defensible space, emergency preparedness, evacuations for people and animals, and mountain pine beetle mitigation, with resources linked on the district's updated website. Mountain pine beetle outbreak updates were provided by entomologist/ecologist Judy Vaughn Oliphelt, along with guidance on actions residents can take, with additional information available at the district website. Partners such as Mountain View Electric Association discussed overhead/underground power safety and tree work, while Fire Adapted Colorado outlined neighborhood-level mitigation and resources. Cody Poole will serve as the district's FACO ambassador. The event highlighted volunteer opportunities, the district's ongoing //mulch program with new hours, peak alert digital emergency notifications, and CERT materials, all accessible via www.bffire.org. The May 4th meeting introduced a draft roadway design standards manual, the first major update since 2010, to modernize practices, clarify development expectations, and require new permits for haul routes, encroachments, special transports, and excavations. The council approved the final PUD plan and final plat for the Alpine Buick GMC dealership at Falcon Commerce Center, with signage and exterior material adjustments to meet local standards. Title IX updates aligned with the town charter, the renaming of a street to Doc Close Road, and a May 22 ceremony honoring Dr. Close were approved. The Pikes Peak Regional Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan was adopted to preserve eligibility for FEMA grants. A first-quarter financial report showed strong performance, rising sales tax receipts, and substantial investment interest earnings. On May 18, the council moved forward with plans for the Monumental Birthday Bash, considered a paid parking kiosk program at Monument Lake with potential yearly resident stickers, approved the town's first formal AI use policy, adopted the 2026 Stormwater Master Plan, and discussed updates to the Water Standards Manual to improve reliability and reduce service line failures. The May 13 Monument Planning Commission meeting focused on regulating hyperscale data centers to protect the town's finite natural resources and power grid, with emphasis on water use and energy demands. It was confirmed that hyperscale facilities can consume up to 5 million gallons of water daily, raising concerns about depleting Monument's groundwater under regional water sufficiency rules. The Commission noted the potential for a single large data center to overwhelm local power infrastructure, and questioned existing broadband networks' capacity to support such facilities. Members discussed whether to impose a temporary moratorium, but chose to continue data research and integrate data center standards into forthcoming Title 18 updates and the comprehensive plan rather than enact immediate bans. The Commission unanimously recommended for approval the Beacon Light Road water tank site rezoning to public, P, to reflect its municipal water facility use, with staff confirming the parcel boundaries. The 6 commissioners publicly stated their individual findings on record to reinforce the decision's legal basis, and the rezone now moves to the Town Council for final approval. The CIC offers programs in welding, home building, advanced manufacturing, aerospace engineering, electrical engineering, and civil engineering, with the district boasting the state's only full-size robotics field and the Barebotics team. Future career pathways will add biomedical sciences, computer science, and business, with proposals including pursuing health certification through partnerships with LabCorp and hospitals for the biomedical pathway. A pathway to distinction is planned for fall, requiring multiple pathway classes, a 3.5 GPA in the pathway, and extra activities, with teachers drafting a menu of activities. The district summer updates include a greenhouse and flower boxes at the CIC. A shuttle system remains in place to transport students between high schools and the CIC at no charge. Budget and enrollment notes. 2026-27 projections anticipate a 164 student decrease and flat PPOR at $1,120, with plans to cut about $2.9 million through right-sizing, while health benefits are self-funded to avoid a 16% cost rise. Other items: no staff layoffs planned, a 2.03% across-the-board raise with higher gains for lower pay levels, and ongoing work to improve the district website and finalize bylaws for the PCAC subcommittee. The Monument Academy bond refinancing closed successfully, with $4.65 million issued for track and field projects and funds to be administered by UMB Bank. The new bonds mature June 1, 2035, and include a 10-year bullet repayment with a potential refinance or redemption in June 2030. The district is proceeding with 2 new board members, Joe Fantacone and Adam Fisher, whose terms begin July 1 after acclamation voting due to lack of contested elections. Enrollment is rising, with an expected 1,100 students, and the district plans to use bond proceeds and donations to complete the track, field, scoreboard, discus area, and lighting, while the Legacy in Motion campaign seeks bleacher seating, a concession stand, restrooms, and a press box. Budgeting remains cautious amid uncertain state funding, PPR, and potential mid-year changes, MA plans to defer some principal payments in the early years and may adjust staff compensation based on PPR outcomes after the October count and election results. The board approved calendar adjustments, fee increases, student fees, elementary from $175 to $200, secondary from $285 to $310, athletic fees, middle school to $175, high school to $225, and a curriculum review move for Shirley Grammar and IEW to align elementary offerings with the middle school. Other actions included approving an SRO MOU with the police department, continuing a one-year financial services contract with interim CFO Glenn Gustafson, and updating SAAC bylaws to reflect a two-campus structure. 2 Lewis Palmer High School and Palmer Ridge High School seniors were named National Merit Scholarship finalists, Nicholas Berthelot and Rhett Jones, who will attend the University of Alabama in the fall. The district announced 14 Teacher of the Year nominees selected by schools, with candidates from elementary, middle, and high schools, to compete at the state level. The Leadership Academy this year had 12 participants, aimed at recognizing and developing staff, featuring book studies, guest presenters, and capstone projects. Ray Kilmer Elementary was designated a John Irwin School of Excellence by the Department of Education, highlighting performance above expectations. The Career and Innovation Center's inaugural year saw 175 students in 10 courses, housing robotics and the Transitions program, with plans for expanded pathways and summer offerings. The board approved policy revisions, English language arts materials for grades 6 to 10, and outlined the 2026-27 budget process and student/academic fees, with a June 22 meeting scheduled. The May audit of WWSD 2025 finances found no issues and issued a clean, unmodified opinion, with no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified. The district's net position is $72.4 million, up $1.2 million from the prior year, while total cash decreased due to reserves being used for major capital projects. Construction in progress has ended and depreciation expense is expected to rise as a result, with $9.7 million in bond debt due to be repaid by 2031. Revenue was $1.8 million greater than expenses, though actual revenue was $2.4 million below estimated when excluding reserve use. Treasurer Dana Franzen reported reserves rising and that water revenue and tap fees are ahead of schedule, with March showing a $1 million profit. On operations, Chilkat Ditch is delivering water to partners and there is potential to lease water to AGRA pending the Division of Water Resources Transit Loss Model. A water main was damaged by a drilling company on Bowstring Road due to locator error. The board held an executive session to seek legal advice on potential agreements with Rex Colorado Corporation, Quantum Group, and Dewey Incorporated, with no action taken afterward. The district received an unqualified opinion on its 2025 financial statements, with the board voting unanimously to approve the draft audit report. The audit found actual revenue exceeded budget by about $95,000, driven by user fees $128,000 over budget and interest income $235,000 over budget, while tap fees were $304,000 under budget. Actual expenses came in about $1.53 million under budget, with $1.4 million allocated for capital improvements in 2025 and none spent that year. The report highlighted a lack of a formal review process for credit card transactions and recommended board review of such transactions due to separation of duties challenges in the small staff. Net position was reported at approximately $17.5 million, and several line items showed variances such as sludge removal under budget by $52,000 and pension contributions under budget by $48,000. District Manager Mark Parker noted ongoing coordination with El Paso County on Beacon Light Road work and potential future service area expansions to Raspberry Lane and Washington Street. The DWSD audit for 2025 produced an unmodified, clean opinion, with net position at $52.2 million and a $2.5 million year-over-year increase. Operating revenue rose to $6.8 million, up $403,000 from 2024, while total revenues were $10.5 million and expenses $8.1 million. Capital expenditures reached $3.4 million, driven by wells and maintenance. Long-term debt decreased by $584,000, capital assets net of depreciation grew by $1.5 million, and tap fees for 2025 were $190,000. The board appointed John Quasman as DWSD's representative on the Loop Water Authority Board. Christina Hawker remains a Loop Board member, with Cade Pennington as alternate. Hawker reported water revenue lagging slightly at end April but expected to rebound in summer. The Willow Creek Ranch fire mitigation project is scoped, with RFPs to be issued by early June. NMCI is a wastewater conveyance project bringing wastewater to Colorado Springs for treatment, with Triview and Forest View joining. NMCI does not alter water rights, and participants must manage their own rights and effluent accounting. The Loop appointed Anthony White as executive director, subject to acceptance and final negotiations, after a unanimous board vote and a plan to finalize terms in an executive session next regular meeting. The board approved engagement with Soren CPAs PC to audit 2025 finances, with base procedures and preparation estimated at $8,500 to $10,600 depending on complexity. 2 engineering services agreements were approved, JVA Incorporated for final design of pump stations and pipelines, and CDM Smith for enlarging the Calhoun Reservoir to 750 acre-feet, including work on dam deficiencies and a diversion point. Change management for engineering contracts was restricted to design teams with a $25,000 threshold. Smaller changes and schedule adjustments under 90 days could be approved by the teams, with all changes logged. The board discussed grants and a loan, up to $30 million from the Bureau of Reclamation, up to $20 million from FEMA, up to $1 million from the Colorado Water Plan Act, and a Water Infrastructure Finance Act loan covering up to 80% of project costs. All require matching funds and NEPA compliance. The board voted not to participate in Colorado's family program and provided financial updates showing $723,000 in cash reserves at end April, with ongoing invoicing and partial reimbursements from the BOCC. The next regular meeting is June 18 at 9 a.m. in Monument. The NMCI Bond Resolution 2026-2007 was approved to structure financing as second lien bonds, with existing district bonds in first lien and prohibition on future first lien instruments. The amended resolution pledges monument sales tax revenue and Forest Lakes IGA proceeds to the second lien bonds, aiming to reduce debt repayment to about $72 million over 30 years. The financing update confirms debt parity could not be achieved due to TAP fees not qualifying for parity calculations, and interest rates could be locked in mid-June. Phase 2 work on the new water storage tank includes installation of supporting pipework this summer, with Phase 3 to occur in the next 1 to 2 years. The Venison Creek Park project is complete and awaiting a ribbon cutting, with ADA improvements causing a slight budget overrun. Key project progress includes the Bale Ditch to Pueblo Reservoir water delivery milestone and a water trade with the Arkansas Groundwater and Reservoir Association to minimize water loss. Our community news marks its 25th anniversary as a surviving local paper in Monument, after more than 3,300 newspapers folded nationwide since 2001. OCN began in 2001 as a volunteer-driven effort by residents opposed to proposed batch plants, delivering a newsletter that evolved into a full newspaper to counter perceived local media bias. The initial push involved about 16 volunteers, with early issues printed 4,000 to 8,000 copies and distributed door-to-door by volunteers, funded by donations and later ads. Today, OCN prints about 22,000 copies monthly, produced by the Denver Post, and remains an all-volunteer operation with a small semi-annual stipend for contributors from ad revenue. Publisher John Heiser estimates roughly 240 people have contributed over 25 years, with 40 to 50 volunteers actively reporting, taking photos, writing, and handling logistics. Heiser confirms the paper's mission to relay factual information from local meetings and notes that OCN hopes to continue serving Tri-Lakes readers into the future as long as volunteers keep coming forward. The monthly Our Community News distribution relies on dozens of volunteers who fill the post office tubs needed for delivery to each of 3 zip codes. On Wednesday prior to the Saturday publication date, volunteers collect empty tubs from the post office, bring them to the MSD conference room, and replace old labels with new ones. On Thursday, volunteer John Howe arrives around 6:30 a.m. to prepare the workspace, and around 7 a.m. The Denver Post delivers about 22,000 copies. Volunteers unload the pallets, place up to 180 papers in each tub, and then stack filled tubs ready for transport. The tubs are moved to a rental truck and delivered to Monument Post Office first, then repeated for the Briargate Post Office, with Palmer Lake papers driven separately to the Palmer Lake Post Office. Letter carriers deliver the papers to homes, with some delivered as early as Thursday. At the NEPCO General Membership meeting on May 9, Guest speakers were staff from the Colorado State Department of Water Resources and Roy Martinez, a WWSD board director and Tri-Lakes resident, along with NEPCO Communications Director Dave Betzler introducing 2 water engineers. Division 2 of Colorado's 7 water divisions, which administers the Arkansas River Basin in southeast Colorado, was outlined, including how water rights are approved by the Water Court and decrees issued for those rights. The division's responsibilities include well permitting, construction oversight, and documenting water usage, with additional forms and documentation available online at dwr.colorado.gov. Roy Martinez explained that Tri-Lakes area water districts pursue groundwater and surface water sources and noted he built a Denver Basin aquifer model to illustrate regional water basins. The next NEPCO meeting is set for July 11 at 10 a.m. at the Woodmoor Barn, with further information at nepco.org. The WAA Board approved updated rules and regulations after an executive session, with final verbiage to be sent to the board by week's end and posted on the website. The staff is progressing under the new system and phone service issues have been resolved, according to Vice President Peter Billy. Covenant activity included 16 items with 3 trailer/RV violations, 29 issues resolved through friendly outreach, 11 HOA checks, and 2 covenant hearings scheduled for June 11. Financials show WA running 3.3% under budget, with 174 unpaid accounts and about 20 more than 1 year in arrears, liens to be filed on June 1. Forestry updates noted rising interest in Firewise mitigation, 7 forestry/Firewise visits last month with 10 more planned, and upcoming chipping days scheduled for June 20 to 21 and July 18 to 19. Logistics will be updated due to Higbee Road construction. Colorado and Utah experienced a record low snowpack this winter, with statewide snow water equivalent at 3.3 inches on April 1, 2026, just 22% of the 1991 to 2020 median. Snowpack peaked early and low, reaching 8.55 inches on March 9, then fell about 5 inches in the last half of March, the fastest 2-week pre-April decline on record. Basin-level data showed most major basins well below median, with some ranges between 10% to 35% of median before final melt. Several areas melted out 50+ days early by late April/early May. The primary drivers were persistently record warm temperatures, October 2025 to March 2026, and a lack of significant winter storms, amplified by a persistent high-pressure ridge and a weak La Nina. A late May snowstorm provided some relief, 5-10+ inches in the Front Range and mountains, up to 2+ feet higher, but it did not offset earlier deficits. Looking ahead, while normal conditions are unlikely to recur exactly, the emergence of an El Niño pattern may bring above-normal precipitation and help ease drought and water supply concerns. Reader Will Steuben argues that Colorado's water crisis requires a multi-pronged strategy beyond conservation, including renegotiating or exiting the 1922 Colorado River Compact and building new reservoirs on the Colorado River. Steuben calls for strong encouragement of California to desalinate seawater, importing desalinated water via pipelines, and storing it in underground aquifers as a strategic reserve. Steuben emphasizes continuing aggressive conservation efforts as part of the plan, alongside structural and regional water management changes. Steuben criticizes current state leadership and argues for voting choices beyond the current candidates, urging readers to recognize perceived policy patterns. The article highlights a selection of travel books for summer road trips across the USA, including national and Colorado-focused guides. It features Lonely Planet's 51 road trips across the country and Route 66 milestones, emphasizing diverse one-day to multi-week itineraries. A Globe Pequot title by Robert Manning explains national heritage areas and how they differ from national parks, focusing on conservation, education, and public access. Rails to Trails Conservancy presents the Great American Rail Trail with 50 segments, showcasing a cross-country, multi-use, coast-to-coast trail concept that is partly complete. Colorado-focused guides cover byways, historic sites, outdoor adventures, and practical itineraries for residents and visitors exploring the state's mountains, fossils, and scenic byways. Additional resources include a family-friendly activity deck, John Steinbeck's travel narrative, and a color edition guide to Colorado's geologic wonders, all aimed at fueling wanderlust and planning. The May 6 Palmer Lake Town Hall meeting was postponed to June 3 due to snow, with details to appear in next month's article and attendance registration required. The 2026 Summer Adventure Program runs June 1 to July 31, inviting all ages to participate and win prizes by reading, creating, and attending qualifying library programs. Prizes: participants up to 18 receive a prize at registration and another after 30 days of activities. Adults receive a book light upon completion and a grand prize entry. Ongoing summer programs include Story Time, Socrates Cafe, Pause to Read, and Toddler Time, with specific times listed for each. Special events include a Rocky Mountain Wildlife Program on June 9th, a Level 1 sewing class on June 11th, Teen Advisory Board on June 11th, and Teen Craft Group on June 15th, with registration required for most. Some programs require group size planning and signed creative space agreements for under 18 participants. All locations closed July 4th for Independence Day. The Palmer Lake Historical Society held its May 21st membership meeting at Palmer Lake Town Hall, featuring Lee and Jane Whitley discussing the playground trail and the park-to-park highway history from the 1920s. The presentation covers the national park system's origins under Theodore Roosevelt, 1901 to 2009, and the 1916 creation of the National Park Service, noting several notable early monuments. Paving the Way, a PBS documentary, details a 5,000-mile 1920 park-to-park highway inaugural tour that connected all 12 national parks in the American West and passed through Palmer Lake. The film combines old clips, tour photos, modern views, and smaller stories to recreate the 1920 journey and highlight the shift toward accessible automobile travel for ordinary people. The Whitley's broader writings on the National Park System are available at abebooks.com, and the program at times references related historical works. Next month's meeting is Sunday, June 21st, featuring the annual Father's Day Ice Cream Social from 2 to 4 p.m. at Palmer Lake Town Hall, with music by Nick Davey and attendees asked to bring lawn chairs. Colorado is experiencing a shift of mountain pine beetle, MPB, activity from higher elevation lodgepole pines to lower elevation ponderosa pines, with widespread tree mortality and increased wildfire risk in 2026. 2025 Colorado forest health data show dramatic increases in MPB-infested dead trees, signaling a catastrophic potential for 2026 despite some areas being green in spring 2026. Confirmed factors driving outbreaks include warming temperatures, drought stress on weakened trees, and longer growing seasons that allow beetles to exploit extended host tree periods. It is currently unclear how far east or south MPB outbreaks will spread in 2026 beyond 9 Colorado Front Range counties and western slope areas, though ripples into eastern Canada and northeastern U.S. are noted as possibilities. Recommended actions for high-value trees: spray with licensed contractor pesticides or use verbenone pheromone repellents. Infested trees must be cut, delimbed, and removed or ground/buried by mid-June to mitigate spread. Field observations suggest flight activity 4 to 6 weeks earlier than usual and pitch tubes and blue staining that allow targeted removal starting in December. For local guidance, consult the Black Forest Fire Protection District. The article, portions of which are reprinted from 2004, discusses the local Front Range trail scene, noting that growth and population increase are changing and impacting trails and land access. A favorite Limbaugh trail exit to the south was effectively shut down after private land development, prompting reactions from users and responses from landowners and the USFS. An attempt to create a new trail on private and USFS land without permission led to further closures, with the USFS indicating a long-term plan that does not permit new trail construction in this area. Projects include monthly trail maintenance by the Friends of Monument Preserve and opportunities to volunteer through FOMP. The article urges community involvement to preserve local trails and notes a call for information to help identify Tim Watkins' killer, with contact details for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. The article presents gardening as a reciprocal relationship. A psychogalvanometer is used to listen to plants by measuring galvanic skin response and translating electrical fluctuations on leaf surfaces into MIDI notes, showing plants' reactions to sound frequencies. The author notes that plants sing differently in response to opera versus casual conversation, indicating active reaction to acoustic vibrations hitting their leaves. Biosemiotics is described as studying how living things interpret signs and give them meaning, with plants interpreting acoustic signatures as biological signals. Dr. Monica Gagliano and Dr. Stefano Mancuso are cited as researchers bridging science and plant behavior, including plants hearing water sounds and Mimosa pudica learning and remembering. The piece emphasizes live data collection via MIDI devices and biofeedback, linking artistic practice with scientific inquiry and tracing back to early demonstrations of plant electrical responses. The Colorado Artist Company Act would create a new A-corp entity allowing artists to retain 51% ownership and have copyrights revert to creators when the company dissolves. The bill, SB 26-133, would be the first state law of its kind, embedding the artist-focused structure within Colorado's LLC framework. The proposal aims to let remote and out-of-state creators form Colorado-based entities, generating state revenue through filing fees and boosting local IP administration. It could encourage physical production hubs for film, design, and game studios to relocate to Colorado, spurring jobs and long-term commercial activity. The framework is designed to keep local art rights with creators and support certified creative districts to sustain regional arts identities. It is still unclear whether the measure will pass and be enacted into law, or how it would interact with existing IP and business regulations if signed by the governor. Practical wildfire prevention tips for Tri-Lakes area homes focus on reducing fuel around structures under home ignition zone (HIZ) principles. Screen all roof vents with 1/8-inch metal mesh to increase resistance to embers in homes and townhomes. Clear needles, leaves, and debris from roofs, gutters, and under decks. Keep wooden decks fresh stained and remove flammable material within 5 feet of the house. Rake leaves from under front steps, remove junipers and wood mulch, and mow dry grass in the 5 to 30 feet zone to reduce fine fuel. Clean up gamble oak due to its extreme flammability. Avoid summer live ponderosa cutting to prevent attracting mountain pine beetle, and continue thinning other tree species to boost resistance. For further guidance, consult the Colorado State Forest Service Home Ignition Zone Guide and seek site-specific advice from local fire districts. El Paso County has launched a property protection program to alert owners if a document is filed using their name, helping to prevent fraudulent deed transfers and real estate scams. After enrollment, the program monitors filings made and allows multiple name variations. Broader coverage options are being explored. Objections to real property valuations or classifications must be filed with the county assessor by June 8, 2026. Other services include a community mulch drop-off with fees and a mulch loader schedule on Saturdays. Additional safety and outreach items cover coyote caution, school bus stop arm camera use, express consent penalties for DUI refusals, and volunteer opportunities with local organizations. Thank you for joining us for highlights from the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.